Yeah, thank you, Astrid. And also thank you for having me. My name is Turber, and I'm a foresight consultant at Setpunkt. So I'm dealing a lot with how technology, or like what different technology narratives we have in the future, or how technology might look like. My approach is, and I may be already a bit sorry that I might be a bit dark in the next 7 minutes. Yeah, my approach is a bit more of a critical reflection on technological developments. And I see also, of course, I mean, you showed very, very nice projects at the moment, what are particularly in those critical times of Corona very necessary for society. But I also see a very critical development with this kind of rapid tech acceleration we have at the moment with Corona, that certain tech developments are kind of boosted in one direction. So I'd like to start with one quote, which is that we live in strange times first of all. So we are somehow in very challenging times. We face maybe, and I really like the word, this is why I put it in German, we face rasenden Stillstand. And this comes from a text Armin Avanesian wrote, a philosopher I pretty much like. So he wrote a pretty interesting article about what we perceive at the moment. So it is what he refers to as subjective deceleration. So of course, this is very much spoken from the perspective of a person that is not working in a systemic relevant job, and who can maybe easily work from home and definitely does not have to work in a hospital or also like in a shop. So it is a very privileged position that you at the moment might feel some ease and everything is like calming down a bit in those times. And this is kind of a paradox between because we have this kind of complete standstill of everyday life, but in fact we have a pretty much of an acceleration of major transformations at the moment. So this is what I try to kind of draw in this not even half scientific graph. So it's just to give you some sort of image, so that we have this tech transformation, or this transformation of major development that just goes up, and that we kind of have this acceleration through Corona, that, as my colleague phrases it, that 3 months of Corona kind of equals like a tech acceleration that we usually would have in 3 years, in 3 normal years. So and so now we are sort of deprived with this new circumstances of Corona to move really within our cities. So it's actually the digital technologies that we put our hope in that should somehow fill that void. And at the moment we are pretty dependent on it. We might use it maybe more pragmatic than ever. So we use Facebook and Instagram for getting reach. We're using Zoom because it has the best connection, maybe without considering actually to kind of put ourselves in a position that we are creating the next monopolistic firm, let's say. So this is why I would just say that, or not just I, but that there is a critical reflection of the use of digital technology necessary. First of all, maybe there is definitely some sort of, or it's more like an excursion now, that we definitely have some blurring of lines between the analog space and the digital space. And as I already said, Corona acts as some sort of additional driver for this development. So we have new augmented and reality and virtual reality applications that provide entirely new experiences of social interactions in everyday life as well as in public spaces. So, for example, last autumn, Facebook presented its vision of future social communication. So with Horizon, Facebook envisions lifelike avatars to meet in virtual reality worlds. So friends meet irrespective of being in different places and share experiences in those worlds. And this Facebook Horizon is already in like an alpha trial phase. And of course, there's different platforms like Mozilla, which provides an open source based version. We at the office very much use it, or what, yeah, very much use is maybe a bit exaggerated because it has still its flaws, but it somehow provides really a bit of this, we are not seeing each other because we're all working in home office, so we can like meet at least at some virtual reality space and have a bit of more haptic experience. So there is, of course, which I think is pretty interesting. Maybe this is just like mentioned on as a side note, as people are at some point pretty familiar already with the virtual spaces. For example, there is this trend of video game photography, just as a side note. For example, this is an artwork of Joshua Taylor. So people are going into the video games and screenshotting every kind of nice nature shot and whatever. So we also have, I mean, these examples where I can somehow, simulate virtual worlds that I'm maybe in times of Corona deprived. But there's also the other way around, which I like a lot is Olafur Eliasson's Augmented Reality art platform. He has the idea that with augmented reality, you can make art pieces much more available for people, and they are much more experienceable for people. So, but I mean, this is all nice, but as I already said before, like this pragmatic use of technology is maybe also related with some dangers. And maybe it really needs some critical reflection, because when I think about the technology development, and in particular now in Corona times, there is something to be careful about. So it's not just in Corona times, but it's a trend that we experience a shift in power towards Silicon Valley tech firms, for example. So this goes on for quite a while, that we have the shift towards the digital space. So just think about right now that we are deprived from the spatial, so we have to be like in the digital. So the Silicon Valley tech firms, the GAFAs, are expanding their power within their existing business model, because a lot of people use it and they can somehow concentrate a lot of data on people. And the other way around, this is also largely affecting the urban realm, because those times where we already experienced a shift towards the digital, it is weakening or desertificating the analog space. So as we saw in, for example, in Asia, when there was the SARS, SARS going on in the 2000s, we saw pretty much of a shift, or this rise of Alibaba, the rise towards e-commerce. So we have this weakening of the analog space. So we have the shops that are closing because everything is going to e-commerce. But at the same time, this weakening is somehow used by technology firms to somehow expand their business model also into the spatial. So the GAFA explore new business opportunities within the urban realm. So just to show you in which way they are expanding at the moment, or which kind of visions technology firms. I mean, I just say Silicon Valley, of course. This is also applying to the Asian tech companies as well. But this, I don't know, I just said it a bit from this Western perspective. So this is, for example, the vision of seasteading. I just put out the claim of seasteading, which is reimagining civilization with floating cities. So it sounds very, like a social utopia of in the way of Californian liberalism. So seasteading is supposed to be an independent state. So it should supposed to be independent from binding laws. And this should leave room for innovation, for experimentation. So it's all in this innovation sense. And it kind of stresses this techno-emancipatory mindset to improve the world and do this better than any kind of state government. So of course, there is also the Sidewalk Lab. This is the vision of the Google sister. So, which also like, I guess it was just a couple of months ago that they closed the idea of developing it further. But the idea is, was actually to establish an urban planning project in Toronto. And which is also, it sounded quite nice, but in the end, when you read the articles about, okay, I mean, in the end they have everything kind of, they have urban participatory projects, or like participation is a big issue, but in the end, when you see like how the processes behind worked, actually, it's not that much of a citizen participatory project, but it's more like a tech-driven project. But I mean, as said, they closed it down, and I guess they mentioned that the financial risks were too high. So maybe to close, it is very important to understand, and also in times like this where somehow future is accelerating at a pace where you have to react right now. I mean, now those times of exception allow very much like letting it go and working it the pragmatic way. But in the end, those times particularly require thinking and acting so that we are kind of developing into a future we actually want to. So do we want development towards a tech-determined post-political urban planning, or do we actually go for the citizen-centered urban planning? So we have, on the one hand, this mindset of what I explained right now. We have this solutionism, this trust in the omnipotence of technology. And I mean, do we want that we have on the other side maybe a humanist approach towards citizen planning? We in the tech-determined post-political urban planning, we have something like the city as a growth model. So, for example, Anthony Townsend mentions that basically, doing business models in the urban sphere for those tech companies is pretty much of a low-hanging fruit. So they can harness a lot of data in doing business models there. So it's basically just lying around. In this model, citizens are seen as a source of data, and the citizen is seen as a user. While it's supposed to be that the city is actually a livable human space where at any time the citizen is put at the center of the planning. So